Frankfurt Airport, March 2, 1919. A young Englishman in a rumpled jacket stands at a customs desk, waiting for a connection back to London. He looks tired. He looks ordinary. He is not ordinary. 9 days earlier, he ran the futures trading desk of Britain's oldest merchant bank. Now he is the most wanted man in finance. In his wake, a bank that survived Napoleon, financed the Louisiana Purchase, and lent money to kings. Gone, sold for £1. Officers close in. He does not run. 6-2 sturds. There is nowhere left to run to. This is dead man's ledger. To understand what was lost, you have to understand what Barings was. Founded in 1772, it had outlived the fall of the Bastille, the Napoleonic Wars, and 2 world wars. It financed the Louisiana Purchase for the United States government. In the 19th century, a French diplomat allegedly called it the 6th great power of Europe, ranking it alongside Britain, France, Austria, Russia, and Prussia. This was not a bank. It was an institution. Kings borrowed from it. Governments trusted it. By 1995 it was 233 years old, wrapped in the quiet dignity of old money. Old paneling, old rules. Enter Nick Leeson, not from Eton, not from Oxford. From Watford, a working-class boy who left school without a university degree and started in the back office, clearing trades rather than making them. He was good, sharp with numbers, quick under pressure. In 1989 he joined Barings. Within 3 years, the bank sent him somewhere far more important than his background might have suggested. Singapore. He was made general manager of Barings Futures Singapore in 1992, trading on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange. He was seen as a rising star. 1942 Cumbres. Someone capable of running an office on his own. Thousands of miles from London's oversight. In Singapore, Leeson held 2 jobs at once, a combination that should never have been allowed. He ran the trading desk, placing bets in the market. And he ran the back office, the department that settles those trades and checks whether they made money. Front office and back office, watchdog and gambler, in the same man. Barings' own internal auditors had flagged this exact arrangement as a risk months earlier. Nobody separated the roles. Nobody enforced the warning. Leeson was, in effect, marking his own homework and about to start rewriting the answers. The story of the fraud, as Leeson later told it, began small, almost innocently. In July 1992, a junior trader made a costly error. Rather than report it up the chain, Leeson hid the loss in a special account. Number 8888888, repeated 5 times, a number some traders considered lucky. He told London it was closed. It was not. It became his. A place to bury mistakes where no one in London would look. It was a small lie. It would not stay small. By 1993 and 1994, the small lie had become a habit. Leeson was trading Nikkei 25 futures, bets on the direction of Japan's stock market, and short straddle options, a strategy that pays off only if markets stay calm. He was not hedging risk for clients. He was speculating, without authorization, using the bank's own capital. When trades won, he quietly reported modest, respectable profits to London. Barings management proudly noted that their small Singapore office was generating outsized returns. When trades lost, the losses vanished into account 8888. London saw a rising star. What London could not see was the debt building behind the curtain. To keep the scheme running, Leeson needed cash. Enormous sums to cover margin calls demanded by the exchange every time his hidden positions moved against him. He requested money from London under false pretenses, telling headquarters the funds were needed to settle client trades that did not exist. London sent hundreds of millions of dollars, again and again, trusting the numbers coming from Singapore because no one was cross-checking the trading desk against the back office. The same man ran both. The fox was guarding the henhouse and filing the henhouse's paperwork too. By late 1994, the hidden losses inside account 88888 had grown into the hundreds of millions of pounds. Leeson's strategy depended on one fragile bet, that Japanese markets would stay calm, that volatility would stay low, that nothing unexpected would happen. It was a bet against chaos itself. And chaos, as it tends to, was coming. Nobody in London knew how exposed the bank truly was. Nobody in Singapore's regulatory offices had caught it either. The fraud had been running for roughly 2 years. Growing quietly, waiting for a shock the world had not yet delivered. Then, On January 17, 1995, the ground literally moved. The Great Hanshin earthquake struck Kobe, killing thousands, devastating a city and sending shockwaves through Asian financial markets. Japan's Nikkei index plunged. It was the exact opposite of what Leeson needed. His short straddle positions were bets that markets would stay quiet. Instead, they had just been hit by one of the most violent shocks in a decade. In days, his hidden losses exploded. He doubled down, buying more futures, trying to force the market back up through sheer volume. Trying to trade his way out of a hole by digging faster. By late February 1995, the math could no longer be hidden. The losses inside account 888888 had reached roughly $87 million. About $13 billion, more than the bank's entire capital base. On February 23, Leeson wrote a one-line note of apology, left it on his desk, and fled Singapore with his wife, Lisa. They flew toward Europe with no real plan. 3 days later, on February 26, after frantic rescue talks led by the Bank of England failed to find a buyer or a bailout, Barings Bank, 203 years old, was declared insolvent. His SO number was A-DES. On March 1, 1995, Barings Bank was sold to the Dutch financial group Ing. For £1, a single coin, changing hands for an institution that had financed empires. Ing assumed the debts and the staff, but the name Barings, Agent, Kazan, independent for 2 1/3 centuries, was gone. The following day, March 2, Nick Leeson was arrested at Frankfurt Airport, attempting to make his way back to Britain. He was extradited to Singapore that November. In December 1995, he pleaded guilty to fraud and was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. In Singapore's Tanah Merah prison, in 1996, Leeson was diagnosed with colon cancer. Photographs of him gaunt and frail complicated the public story. Was he a criminal mastermind, or a broken man who had spiraled far beyond his control, hiding a colleague's small mistake until it swallowed a 23-year-old bank? He served roughly 4 years before an early release in 1990 on grounds of health and behavior. For the thousands of Barings employees who lost their jobs, and for a British institution erased almost overnight, there was no early release. There was only the letter, the empty office, and the silence after. Let the ledger settle. $27 million, around $13 billion, lost to unauthorized trading, hidden inside one account. 203 years, the age of a bank that had survived Napoleon, 2 world wars, and countless financial panics, undone in roughly 2 years by a single unchecked trading desk. 1. The pricing paid to take on what was left. 5 years, Leeson's sentence, roughly 4 years served before his release. 1 person went to prison. A great many more, in London and in the regulators' offices, were criticized and walked away. After his release, Nick Leeson became a paid public speaker on risk management, lecturing companies on how to prevent the very disaster he had caused. The ledger never balances. Subscribe. Next week, the ledger opens again.